What is up, guys? So the Arrowverse has been around for 6 years now, and for this video I wanted to go over every year of the Arrowverse and rank them from worst to best. Now this might not be fair for the first two seasons. For the first 2 years it was only Arrow. Year 1 was only Arrow Season 1, Year 2 was only Arrow Season 2, but still those 2 years are definitely not the worst years of the Arrowverse, but they will be lower on the list because they only have one season each. The way I will do this is I will be basing off the seasons of that year as well as the crossover, because the crossover I think is like an essential part of the Arrowverse of every year of the Arrowverse. So the crossover will be its own season, I guess, in this equation for these years. So without further ado, let's rank all 6 Arrowverse years from worst to best. In last place, which is 6th place, goes to year 4, because this is the only year of the Arrowverse, in my opinion, that is just really bad. Almost every season from this year, as well as the crossover, is just really bad. So this year consists of Arrow Season 4, which is terrible, The Flash Season 2, which is definitely the only saving grace of this year, Supergirl Season 1, which is terrible, Legends of Tomorrow Season 1, which is really, really bad, and Vixen Season 2, which, by the way, I am including the CW shows, but most of them are just really bad because they're so short and there's so much nothingness in those seasons. So Vixen Season 2 is definitely no exception to that. And then the crossover is the Vandal Savage one called The Heroes Join Forces, which in my opinion is by far the worst crossover we have ever had. And that includes the non-main crossovers like Duet. I didn't really like that. But Heroes Join Forces is a lot worse in my opinion. So like I said, The Flash Season 2 is the only saving grace of this season or this year. And that's definitely true, but it's not like one of the best seasons. It's up there, but it's not like, in my opinion, the best seasons are Arrow Season 1, 2, and 5 and The Flash Season 1. Flash Season 2 is right below that, but it's just not as good as those. It's just not good enough to save this year from the terribleness of the other seasons. And this might be a coincidence, but if you look at my all Arrowverse seasons ranked video, numbers 16, 15, and 14, which are the bottom 3, are all from this year. The worst season, in my opinion, is Arrow Season 4. The second to worst season is Supergirl Season 1, and the third worst season from the Arrowverse is Legends of Tomorrow Season 1. So all 3 of those seasons are from this one year. And then the crossover is terrible. Flash Season 2 definitely helps it a little bit, but just not enough to save this season from being even worse than the years where there was just Arrow. Which brings us to number 5, which is year 2. Year 2 consists of nothing but Arrow Season 2, which in the Arrowverse, because this is like Arrowverse years ranked, that means it is lower on the list just because it's only Arrow. But honestly, there's really nothing wrong with this year. Arrow Season 2 is one of the best seasons from the Arrowverse. In fact, I think it's the 4th one in my opinion, and there isn't a crossover either, unless if you count episode 8 and 9, which are The Scientist and 3 Ghosts, which Barry Allen appeared in those episodes, which is crazy because that was episode 8, and ever since then, every episode 8 was a crossover. So maybe you could count that, but you probably shouldn't because like The Flash wasn't even around yet during this year. But the reason this is lower than year 1 is just because I like season 1 of Arrow more than season 2 of Arrow. So they are back to back on this list, which I will get to that in a second. But year 2 of the Arrowverse is definitely a great year just because it has nothing but great seasons, but it still only has one season and no crossover, so it's a lot lower on the list. Number 4 is year 1, which consists of Arrow Season 1. The only reason this is higher than Arrow Season 2, I think I said this already, but I like Arrow Season 1 just a little bit more. I can't really put it higher than years like 3, 5, and 6, just because those years are actual good years in the Arrowverse, while I can put it higher than Season 4 just because Season 4 is so bad that even though these 2 seasons only have one season each, they are still a lot better, especially since these 2 seasons are some of the best seasons of the Arrowverse, with Arrow Season 1 being the 3rd best season of the Arrowverse. So with that in mind, year 1 of the Arrowverse is number 4. Number 3 is year 333. So this year of the Arrowverse consists of Arrow Season 3, which isn't very good, but then there's also The Flash Season 1, which is the 2nd best season of the Arrowverse. So that definitely saves it. Unlike The Flash Season 2, it was not enough to save this year. Well, The Flash Season 1, in my opinion, is enough just because it is the 2nd best season of the Arrowverse. Also, Arrow Season 3 is nowhere near as bad as Arrow Season 4. And then there's also Constantine Season 1, which was not complete and, in my opinion, was pretty boring. But I don't think it takes away from the Arrowverse because there's such a lack of interconnectivity between Constantine and Arrow and the Flash. And there's also Vixen Season 1, which I don't really remember which one is better, Vixen Season 1 or 2. but I'd say this season is a lot better than year 4, just because Arrow Season 3 isn't as bad as Arrow Season 4, and The Flash Season 1 is a lot better than Flash Season 2, and the crossover of this year is Flash vs. Arrow, which is the title of the crossover, but it was Flash vs. Arrow, as well as The Brave and the Bold, which is 2 different episodes. But this crossover is a great crossover, and just so much better than the crossover from year 4. Obviously, better than the crossovers from year 1 and 2, just because they didn't have any. But I think year 3 isn't the best year, just because Arrow Season 3 and Constantine Season 1 kind of take away from it, even though that's not really a popular opinion. But in my opinion, Constantine Season 1 isn't a very good season. It's really boring, and it has the unfortunate lack of a season finale and really a main villain. So it's not really good because of that, but I think the crossover and the Flash Season 1 definitely saved this year from being lower than years that only have 1 season. So the only 2 years left from the Arrowverse are year 5 and 6, and I really tossed between which one I would put at 2 and which one I would put at 1, but my final conclusion is that I'd put year 6 and number 2. So this year consists of Arrow Season 6, which is definitely not the best season of Arrow, just because it's not anywhere as good as Season 1, 2, or 5, but it's nowhere near as bad as Season 3 or 4, so it's just right there in the middle. Same goes for the Flash Season 4, which is not as good as Season 2 or 1, but I think is better than Season 3. And then there's Supergirl Season 3, which isn't a very good season, but it is the best season of Supergirl, so at least there's that. And then Legends of Tomorrow Season 3, which is definitely the best season of this year, and is one of the best seasons of the Arrowverse, so that's definitely elevates this season. Then there's Freedom Fighters The Race Season 1, which I don't even think was complete. Like, Season 1 just ended without a conclusion. Same goes for Constantine City of Demons. The difference between that is Constantine City of Demons, I'm not really sure is even in the Arrowverse at all, so I'm not going to really count that towards this year. But then there's also the crossover, which is Crisis on Earth X, and I know this is not a popular opinion, but Crisis on Earth X is not my favorite crossover, just because there was way too much side character drama and just drama in general in the crossover. It really bogged it down, which is why Heroes Join Forces was so terrible. It was a lot less apparent in this crossover. Also, just what they were trying to do and everything they did outside of the drama, it was great, but in my opinion, Crisis on Earth X is just not the best crossover, which I will get to the best crossover at number 1. So with that in mind, year 6 is the second best year of the Arrowverse. And number 1 goes to year 5. So this year consists of Arrow Season 5, which is still the best season of the Arrowverse in general. I actually just finished rewatching it at the time of this recording. I finished rewatching yesterday, and it is still so damn good. I'd say it's so good that it elevates this year past most other years just by itself. It's just such a good season, and other good things about this year are Legends of Tomorrow Season 2, which is one of the best seasons of the Arrowverse. I say it's right up there with The Flash Season 2 in terms of how good it is, which Flash Season 2 was just not enough to save its year, but Legends of Tomorrow Season 2 does elevate this year, just because there's nothing really holding back this year in terms of like Arrow Season 4, Supergirl Season 1, and Legends of Tomorrow Season 1 levels, and there's Arrow Season 5 too, and then there's also The Flash Season 3, which is the worst season of The Flash, but it's definitely not the worst season of the Arrowverse. The worst season of The Flash is actually better, or basically just on par with the best season of Supergirl, so that's just saying so much about that show, about Supergirl. But then there's also Supergirl Season 2, which isn't a very good season, but again, it's just not the worst season of the Arrowverse. So those two seasons definitely bog down the year a little bit, but not a crazy amount to make it worse than year 6. And there's also the crossover Invasion, which is my favorite crossover, just because even though it's a little less creative than Crisis on Earth X, there is no crazy terrible character drama and side character storylines that bog down the crossover. There is character drama. It's mostly with Flashpoint, and I think it's done really well in this crossover, even better than the Flash Season 3 did, like, in general. So Invasion is my favorite crossover, and it's just a little bit better than Crisis on Earth X, which Invasion plus Arrow Season 5 plus Legends of Tomorrow Season 2 does make the best year of the Arrowverse, in spite of the Flash Season 3 and Supergirl Season 2. And like I said, year 5 and 6 were extremely close on this list. The only reason I put 5 over 6 is because 1, the crossovers are better, and also 2, year 6 doesn't really have any incredible season that really puts it above the rest. Like, Legends of Tomorrow Season 3 is great, but it's nowhere near as great as Arrow Season 5. Arrow Season 5 is just so good that it kind of elevates this year past year 6. If Arrow Season 5 was a little bit worse and like on par with Legends of Tomorrow Season 3, then year 6 would definitely be better, just because The Flash Season 4 and Supergirl Season 3 are better than The Flash Season 3 and Supergirl Season 2, as well as Legends of Tomorrow Season 3 being better than Legends of Tomorrow Season 2. But Arrow Season 5 is so good that it just elevates this year past year 6. So that is every year of the Arrowverse rank. Just to go over it, number 6 is year 4, number 5 is year 2, number 4 is year 1, number 3 is year 3, number 2 is year 6, and number 1 is year 5. Let me know your ranking in the comments down below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you like this video, and thanks.